Welcome, my dear listeners. Stay with me to get the spoilers first and subscribe to the channel. Let's find out what's going to happen tomorrow on Royal. Meghan tried to take King Charles' legacy. Princess Anne shows off the As Ever brand. Before his controversial US tour, King Charles' family made a heartbreaking plea. Despite pressure, King Charles is still going on his trip to the US. However, the king may have a big problem when he starts the tour. That is the question of whether or not to meet the people who survived Epstein. There are a lot of people telling Charles to meet the victims while he's on his trip. The most recent one came from the family of Virginia Goffrey, who killed herself after saying that Andrew Mountbatten Windsor had sexually abused her. King Charles' Il's visit will come at a very personal time for our family, the statement to BBC Newsnight said. His arrival comes just 2 days after the 1 year anniversary of the death of our beloved sister, Virginia Roberts Geoffrey. It goes on. The family thanked the king for standing by Andrew, his brother, after shocking claims were made against him. We strongly urge King Charles to meet with us and the survivors and listen to what we have to say. We are grateful that he listened to our sister's claims against Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and took quick action to remove his brother from his position as a prince. The statement said, Amanda and I hope that talking to survivors and their families will continue to get the British government to take strong action against Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirators. Virginia spent her whole life trying to hold these predators accountable. In her memory, we ask the king to talk to us and survivors and keep working for justice all over the UK. Taking into account the heartbreaking plea, it looks like Charles is in a tough spot. A recent iPaper article said that King is seen as a source of justice. His meeting with the Epstein survivors, some of whom said Andrew abused them, is a sign. A sign that the king is admitting his brother is guilty, even though he hasn't been found guilty in court. It's important to note that Charles will be in the United States from April 26 to 28. Meghan Markle, the royal legacy question and the ongoing debate about her as ever brand. The royal family in Britain has always been more than just a family. It is a brand, a tradition, a symbol, and a living institution that has been shaped by hundreds of years of expectations. That's why every action taken by someone connected to it, especially someone as famous as Meghan Markle, gets a lot of attention. When Meghan gets a new project in the public eye, people usually don't just talk about the project. Instead, it becomes part of a much bigger talk about who you are, your legacy, your image, and what it means to live a life after being a royal. Meghan's lifestyle brand, as ever, has gone through the same thing. For her fans, as ever is a symbol of change. Meghan has the chance to make something that shows her own taste, values, and point of view outside of the strict rules of royal family. Critics say that this is yet another example of how the Sussex story is still very much connected to the monarchy. Even though the couple has stopped doing official duties, the brand is not just about products for people who like to watch the royals. It's all about symbols. It makes people wonder how much of Meghan's public persona is still shaped by the royal family she left behind. The monarchy is a strong brand that has been passed down, so the question has only gotten louder. King Charles stands for continuity, duty, and the long history of a family whose public role is based on service and self-control. His reign is not only personal, it is also historical. That legacy is used to judge every picture, speech, and appearance. People naturally start to compare the two worlds when there is talk about a former working royal starting a big public platform. But comparing things isn't the same as stealing, and disagreeing isn't the same as proving someone did something wrong. The more important thing is how quickly royal comments can get out of hand. In the age of social media, even a simple business move can be turned into a big story about loyalty, competition, or a deeper meaning. Some people have said that Meghan's brand launch was polished and aspirational, while others have said it was planned and too tied to her past. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. As ever, like many other celebrity businesses, makes money by combining personal image, public recognition, and storytelling. That's not strange. The royal setting around it is what makes it different. Meghan isn't starting from scratch. She comes with a worldwide audience, a built-in level of interest, and a story that is already well known to the public. People look at everything she does through the lens of her time in the royal family, even when she's just starting a new business. Critics look for signs of palace life, while supporters see an independent woman making her own way in the world. Princess Anne often comes up in conversation here, even if it's not directly. Anne is in a very different place in the royal ecosystem. For decades, people have linked her to duty, humility, and practical service. She doesn't try to be glamorous like celebrities do, and she hasn't showed much interest in using her loyal status to change who she is. The difference makes her a good example to use when people talk about what royal life should be like, how important public image is, and whether the monarchy should be seen as a brand at all. But once again, contrast does not mean conflict. Princess Anne isn't known for having big public fights, and there is no good reason to think of her as someone who is exposing Meghan's business plans in a big fight. That kind of framing is more like what tabloids do than what responsible reporters do. And Anne's long standing reputation as one of the hardest working members of the royal family does make the public debate sharper. People are really comparing two different ideas of what a modern public figure should be when they compare her low key service to Meghan's polished media presence. One is based on duty, the other is based on defining oneself. That's why the Meghan story still interests so many people. She's not just a former member of the royal family. She used to be a royal, but now she's a famous person around the world, a cultural icon, and a lightning rod for debates about tradition and change. Every move she makes leads to different interpretations. A business venture is not just a business venture. It serves as evidence in a broader discourse concerning influence, privilege, and authenticity. That same dynamic is why people are still very touchy about King Charles' legacy. For the monarchy, legacy is everything. It takes time to build through public service, continuity, and careful management. For the public, it is often shown through rituals, appearances, and the idea of a family carrying on its history. When one of the most famous former members of that family creates a public persona for business, some people can't help but wonder if the royal legacy is being used, copied, or challenged. But you should ask those questions carefully. A public figure using their life experiences is not the same as a public figure trying to bring down an organization. Meghan has every right to start a business, create a brand, and tell her own story. People will still judge her choices based on her past with the royal family because it is an important part of her current image. That stress isn't going away. As ever is more than just a brand in that way, it is a test case for how much a former royal can control her own identity after she leaves the institution that made her famous. Is it possible to see her as independent instead of oppositional? Is it possible for her to have a business life without every action being seen as a royal statement? Is it possible for the public to tell the difference between a women's business and the organization she used to work for? Those are the real questions behind all the noise. The issue is that royal media coverage often likes conflict more than complexity. It's easier to say Meghan versus the monarchy than to look into the more complicated truth of women in the public eye trying to build a long lasting, well known brand while carrying one of the most famous names in modern culture. It's easier to say that someone is stealing a legacy than to think about how fame, family history, and public expectation all come together. But the interest continues because the monarchy is based on stories. It relies on symbols, continuity, and the emotional weight of inherited identity. King Charles is the person who got that inheritance in her own way. Princess Anne shows how disciplined it is. Meghan represents the challenge of stepping outside of her comfort zone and creating something new by making her own choices. These numbers tell a modern royal story that is just as much as about how people see things it is about politics or rules. That's why any talk about Meghan's brand is bigger than the things it sells. It becomes part of a bigger cultural conversation about who gets to decide what legacy is and how far it goes. Is legacy something that institutions protect, or is it something that people who used to live in them can change? Is it possible for a former royal to create a successful public persona without being accused of taking advantage of the crown's status? Or is that accusation a sign of how closely the monarchy and the media linked? There are no simple solutions. Meghan still gets strong reactions because she is in a rare and unstable place in public life. She is not completely in the royal world, but she is also never completely out of it. People judge her projects not only on their own merits, but also on the history she brings with her. That makes every interview, launch, and appearance seem bigger than life. And maybe that's the real story, not that Meghan is trying to steal anything, but people still have a hard time understanding how a woman can leave an institution as important as the monarchy and still be so connected to its story. Princess Anne isn't promoting a brand, but her own reputation for service shows how different old royal duty is from modern personal branding. People aren't directly attacking King Charles' legacy, but they are changing the idea of legacy in public. The argument about us ever says as much about the people who watch it as it does about Meghan. Before they even read the details, people bring their loyalties, doubts, and hopes to the story. That's why the talk feels so charged. There is more than one brand. In a world where image travels faster than institution, it's about the future of royal storytelling. Meghan's biggest challenge will probably be to keep making things that feel real without getting too caught up in the drama that comes with her name. The royal family's job is to keep the dignity of its legacy while not looking like it's stuck in the past. For the public, the challenge is easier but harder to tell the difference between real criticism and sensational fiction. And when you step back and really think about all of this, something feels bigger than just headlines, doesn't it? Because this isn't only about one trip, one brand, or one moment. It's about two completely different worlds quietly colliding, and neither side is willing to fully step back. In my opinion, that's where the real tension lives. Not in loud accusations, but in silent competition over image, legacy, and control. King Charles represents tradition trying to stay steady, while Meghan represents change that refuses to slow down. And when those two forces move at the same time, something always shifts. But here's the question that keeps me thinking. What happens when public pressure starts shaping private decisions, especially for someone in Charles' position? And another one is Meghan building something truly independent. Or will every step she takes always be tied back to the royal story she left behind? Because let's be honest, the public hasn't let go, not even a little. Looking ahead, I believe this tension won't explode all at once. It will grow quietly, moment by moment, appearance by appearance, until one unexpected event forces everything into the open. And when the moment comes, it won't just be another headline, it could redefine how both sides are seen for years. So maybe the real story isn't what's being said right now, but what's still being held back, just waiting for the right time, and that's exactly why this situation feels far from over. If you're still watching closely like I am, keep your eyes on the small details because sometimes that's where the biggest truths begin to show.